Hello and welcome to this special broadcast coming to you from the World Economic Forum's annual meeting here in Davos. I'm in the room that's been the hub for India for 4 years now. Heads of companies, heads of state, they've all visited this room. This is the room that hosts the Commerce Minister Anand Sharma, and he's here with us today as our special guest. Minister Sharma, thank you very much for your time. How would you characterize the Davos mood? The last few years, the sentiment towards India has been negative, but this year...
I won't say that. I won't say that. I'll say the first 2 years it has been very positive.
Okay.
Last year there was a bit of gloom, doubt, and we were trying to reassure that what the perception was far removed from reality, because there's always a difference between perception and reality. Subsequently, the decisions that we have made, major decisions, opening up other sectors for FDI, which has resonated with the global investors, has turned the mood around, and this time we could feel it much more.
Okay.
And that is also reflected very clearly in the new reports of the World Bank, the OECD, and all the other rating agencies.
When you interact with heads of global businesses, what are some of the things they tell you they'd like to see changed in India? You've come a long way in the last 2 years in implementing many of the changes that you just referred to, but I'm sure they have a wish list, as most business does.
I know, but you know, as economies have moved forward, even in the developed world, there are always issues.
Yeah, sure.
And the governments and the policy makers adapt, the societies change. There's no abrupt change, because abrupt changes lead to disruptions. So I think they are satisfied with the direction that we have taken, and the fact that we have demonstrated an abiding commitment to our reform agenda, to liberalization, to creating an environment which is welcoming and supporting of FDI, the steps that have been taken to put in place an institutional mechanism to improve the ecosystem.
Okay, let me rephrase that question then. What's on your unfinished agenda? Because you've implemented many changes over the course of the last 2 years. Momentum has picked up, especially in the last year or so. There are now a few months left before we go in for general elections.
That's true.
What is on your unfinished agenda in those few
No,
months?
we want more participation, not only from the investment point of view, that's happening. Because at no point of time there was any slackening, contrary to the perception. That's why I said perception and reality. We always remained the first 3 favored destination for foreign investors, even during the economic downturn. That position never changed. Now we are being rated by some of the new reports as the number 1 after opening up of civil aviation, defense, multi-brand and all, and telecom being raised, banking reforms having gone through. But I'm not concerned about whether we are number 1 or number 2. The very fact is that we have throughout remained the first 3. Secondly, what's important is that we are doing something which is not only important, but will be transformative with regard to making India a manufacturing hub of the world. With the implementation of the national manufacturing policy, which will attract not only the investment, but technologies, managerial expertise. 14 of these townships now, the cities of the future, have been approved, plus 2 electronic cities. 2 more may come in. So 18 new cities which are being built. That will change India and take the share of manufacturing in our GDP from a low of 16 to maybe 25, 26% in a decade, and create 100 million jobs. I think that is what has connected with the world, that India is moving. What other major countries which transformed from being agrarian economies or low technology manufacturing, moving to the high end and exports-led growth, manufacturing and exports. Japan, Korea, Germany, China, now India.
So if you'll allow me to examine that
yes,
a little
you can.
bit. I was talking to some manufacturing CEOs from India here in Davos. and they said the government's professed aim was to increase the share of manufacturing in GDP, but in the last couple of years, in fact, it's come down from 16%. So they were fairly dejected about that, if I may say so. Also, what's happened, for instance, with the national...
I'm rather surprised with what you have said, because India never had a manufacturing policy. For the first time, you are creating a system in place of single window approval mechanism. Not creating, you have done it. Cities are not built overnight. It's not like ordering your morning cup of coffee. It takes time. But the fact is that you have put a policy in place. It is under implementation. It's not rolled out. It's being implemented on the ground. It's different from what India has ever done since independence. Here the issue of land stands at rest. These will be managed through an SPP. They'll be their own authorities. When did India do it? We have invoked a dormant article in the Constitution of the Republic of India, Article 243 QC1. I don't know whom you have been talking about, whether they have read the policy or the Constitution.
No, I don't think they were referring to the policy. I think they were referring to the pre-policy last couple of years.
No, the policy came out only on the 25th of October.
Yes, I know. So I'm saying
no,
the
the
pre-policy.
manufacturing decline is connected to a number of factors. We are referring to the policy which has resonated with the world.
No, of course, I'm not taking
You
away
see,
from that
in
any
India,
fashion,
we
sir.
have enough people who are always negative.
Oh, I don't think that's it. I think it's just the ability to identify what will take us to the next level of growth.
No,
As
where
as
India
you
has
mentioned in
come,
the
it
manufacturing
is
policy.
only because of the vision.
Yes, of course, which is what
Also
I'm saying.
the FDI
this
policy.
This government's vision was to increase manufacturing's contribution
And
to
also the
GDP.
FDI, let's not forget that during a period when there has been a downturn in the world, we have faced strong headwinds. We have also been affected. From growing at 9% plus, we came down to 5%. This year we will grow hopefully at 6.2 and then go back to 7.4, 7.5 next year. But at the same time, we have demonstrated that we have resilience. We have capabilities. Now, people have to understand that during this period of last 4 years, post-economic crisis, financial crisis, when the capital flows ebbed, when there has been contraction in the global economy and also global trade to the tune of between 5 to 9.5%, we have attracted FDI of 176 billion US dollars in 4 years.
Sir, I don't think that anybody does not appreciate the difficult global context and the work that India has attempted to do. But as you will point out, there were high expectations from this government.
Expectations, it's a partnership.
Yes, of course.
Industry also has to deliver. They cannot be spoon-fed. And I'll be very blunt about it.
Sure.
Because after all, from where are they getting it? They're also beneficiaries of the vision, the policies. Look at it's a partnership.
But sometimes there are unintended consequences to policy making, sir. For instance, if I was to draw even the briefest parallel between the national manufacturing policy or the NMIZ policy and what happened with SEZs, when the SEZ
No, please don't confuse yourself. There's two entirely different. You can't compare manufacturing policy with SEZs.
No, I'm not. I'm saying the unintended.
No.
entire concept
It would
of
be a
SEZs.
fallacy even to go anywhere near that.
Okay.
NMP India, after the national manufacturing policy in 2011, India had only one industrial policy of 1956. So don't confuse
I'm not,
manufacturing and industrial policy with SEZ.
I'm not. Forgive
No,
me, I'm
you were
not
making a
confusing
mistake
it.
there.
I'm
These were
only-
not meant to be manufacturing cities.
Actually, the only question I was putting to you was that the SEZ policy was attempting
That's separate.
to...
That's a
yeah,
separate
was to
issue
boost
altogether.
exports out of India.
Yes.
And create these zones that would encourage
Yes.
and mobilize exports. And at some level, they did become a land play more than anything else. And therefore, there
Not
are
entirely,
concerns.
but yes, in some areas.
And when the tax benefits fell off, the charm of the SEZ policy diminished. So these are the unintended consequences I was talking
Well,
about.
when you look at
And that's the only
when
point
you
I
look
was
at the
making about
exports from the
NMIZ.
SEZ, no, don't compare
Does
the
it-
two.
do you think
No,
or
I
do you
think
worry that
it
it
would
could
be
run into a
absolutely
land
it would
grab
be
situation?
it would be wrong.
Okay.
This means that you yourself have not read the national manufacturing.
so I've
no,
read
let
it.
me.
I've read both.
I'm
I'm saying-
known to be. No, you have not, because okay, you answer me now. You are questioning me. How is the land issue being addressed in the NMP?
No, I'm not saying
No,
that
no,
at
and let
all.
me answer you.
I'm saying, can there be unintended
No,
consequences
no.
of this-
You
of
must
this
answer me now. How the
I'm not
national
a-
manufacturing policy is addressing the land question?
I'm not saying that at all.
No,
sir.
if you have read it, now let me elaborate.
But I'm not saying
Let
there's a
me
land
let me
question
help
in
you.
this.
Let me help you. You did say The issue here is different. How? Because the land is the equity of the state. These are being developed in partnership between the Government of India and the state governments. The Government of India's contribution is policy,
Yes,
plus the funding of the trunk infrastructure. Land will never be alienated.
It will continue to stay in the ownership of the state.
Of the state,
Yes, I
and
understand.
on the lease cum rental basis. So how are you equating it with the SEZs?
I'm not. I'm saying just like there were unintended
No,
consequences to the
this
SEZ
comparison
policy.
itself
So that was
is
the question I was
fallacious.
putting to you. saying
No,
could
it is
there
wrong
be-
question.
Because I'm only reflecting to you, sir. I'm not invested in either SEZs or NMIZs. I'm reflecting to you some of the concerns that come up.
No,
in
concerns
conversation.
are ill-informed.
All right. So I take your point. I'm not saying no to that. I'm simply putting the question to you on that. Because policy
No,
making, for instance,
I'm not referring to you. I have come across very well-informed business leaders who have actually never read it. They don't know what is Article 243 QC of the Constitution of the Republic of India, which was twice invoked by Jawaharlal Nehru as Prime Minister of India to build Chandigarh and then Gandhinagar. Now, if you talk to most of the industrial leaders, they were totally unaware of that. They don't even know how we have put it together. We have to tell them. That's important.
okay, if I may put one more thing to you on this particular policy issue, and that is that the desire that had this come earlier, it could have helped cushion manufacturing in the worst of the global downturn.
Between you and me, I assumed this responsibility in 2009, that is, during the period of the global downturn. All right. And within 2 years, we gave to India this manufacturing policy. Only 4 countries before that had done what we are going to do and much better.
Okay.
Now, yes, question is registered. India should have done it 2 decades before.
Okay.
Why India didn't do it, I've often been wondering about it. Why we didn't do it.
Well, sir, it's a question we could put back to the Congress, since it is.
It's not the Congress. There have
it's
been
the
many
party
governments.
That's been in power for the longest.
No,
in this
sorry,
country,
there was also six
cumulatively.
years of the BJP. No, why?
course.
Were they coming out of primary school? They were also following what was happening in the country. You can't put it to party to party. The question is, we are one country.
Okay.
Why we did not? The governments don't work in isolation. You're part of the system. You have civil servants, you have policy makers who are benefiting from the inputs. It's always a vision. Nehru had a vision. Dr. Manmohan Singh had a vision. It's a question of whether you as a leader have a vision or not.
Okay. No, you referred to 2 decades ago, so therefore I made the reference.
No,
to the Congress.
I only said 2 decades ago, India embarked on the policy of liberalization. Why you're not saying that 2 decades ago something was done which changed India?
Oh, of course.
I was only
acknowledge
restricted
that
to
that
manufacturing.
was the first big push that India got, starting 1991. So,
Well, India got the first big push after independence. When Nehru...
economically, I was
No,
referring
it's
to
not.
the last 2 decades.
If those institutions of excellence were not established in 1 decade, India would not have reached where we are.
Mr. Sharma, I'm not taking away from that at all.
No, what I'm saying, it's important to remind the younger generation that India was a poor country. Still we are poor. But we invested huge resources in less than a decade to set up the Indian Institutes of Technology, Indian Institutes of Management, Indian Institutes of Science, National Institute of Design, institutions of nuclear energy, space energy, you name it, and we did it. And those who came out, there was a period of brain drain when India could not provide opportunities to its sons and daughters. They went away. They created the Silicon Valleys of the world, and today they are the ones who are global leaders.
Okay, so maybe I've heard in
And now we have
focus
more
on
than
the
doubled.
future.
In the last 10 years, we have more than doubled. After 60s, the first decade of this century is when we have doubled the IITs, the IIMs, the Indian Institutes of Science from 1 to 5, Institute of Design from 1 to 5. This has happened.
Okay. Sir, since we're not going live, I'll ask you another question. I think I'm getting the cue from your team outside that you're short of time. Do you have a couple of more minutes before,
I don't know, I have the Australian minister coming, but okay.
Can I take another 5 minutes? I don't want to hold you back. Okay, let me focus on the future. I asked you what is on, your unfinished agenda, so to speak. Any more FDI liberalization that we can expect between now and let's say closer to the election? Could you take us through what your vision is for that?
Well, we would like to have FDI in railways as part of infrastructure expansion, and also liberalize further FDI in construction.
Could you take us or elaborate a little bit on what you have in mind when you talk about this? Or how
we
you
will
expect to open it
actually
up?
bring in more flexibility and relaxation in compliance guidelines in construction.
Okay. And in railways, sir?
Yes, we will.
A little more detail on how...
No, we are going to allow FDI.
Right. But I would imagine, is it only like, for instance, in the transport cargo services, or is it to run private...
It's a work in progress.
Work in progress. You have a very tough job. You invite and attract foreign investors to India. You meet with them. You tell them about the India story. When they come to India, though, sometimes they run into paperwork that even you could not have anticipated.
I agree with you. That's why nobody is talking about the changes that have been brought about. First, the NMP, I'm going back, which gives you a single window. These will be managed by the SPVs. As I mentioned earlier, the question of land is settled. Red tape is cut out. Delays are cut out. So why the positives are not getting commented upon? Second, the EBIS project, which is bringing all services, central and state services and approvals on one platform, which the Government of India, my ministry, has developed along with Infosys as part of the national mission mode projects on e-governance. Number 3, on trade. Everything is e-enabled. You don't have to go anywhere, file a paper. It's all electronic. Even whatever the incentives are given or the duties drawback, bank's realization certificate, multiple application of filing has been done away with. Payment of fee is electronic. All the terminals for export-import have been electronically linked. There's complete electronic data interchangeability.
Sure.
You know, these are the positives which perhaps we have not been able to communicate with the global partners. That, listen, we have already done this. We are doing it.
Yeah. But sir, we also have, for the instance, you opened up FDI and civil aviation. Air Asia is still waiting for a license. You opened up FDI and multi-brand retail.
So
and
what's
we
the
now
issue?
had the Delhi state government.
Delhi
turn
is a
its back
city
on it.
union
So I'm
territory.
saying, yeah, so
No.
the central government's policy is
Cannot
to
be
open up.
reversed. Cannot be
No.
reversed.
Okay.
Number 1. Let me tell you.
Okay.
The policy is a considered policy which came about after intense stakeholders consultations, particularly the farmers, the consumers, and the MSMEs, the small and medium entrepreneurs and industry. After that, the Government of India gave an option to the states to opt for it. Now, option is option. Democratically elected governments, legitimate governments in office took a conscious and considered decision and communicated in writing after resolution of their cabinets to the Government of India. The Government of India gave them the permissions and notified. Now, we never created, option does not mean creating a revolving door. Am I clear now?
I get it. So,
Yes, option is one-time option.
Government says they want
Option
to
is
change their
one-time
mind.
option which was exercised by elected government.
So
And FDI policy is not the domain or the jurisdiction of a state government. This is only a union territory.
Yes, but you did extend
No,
to them.
no, it was option. Option was exercised.
So it's done. Now there's
No,
no
no,
way.
you can't
Unless
create a
they choose
revolving-
to take it to court in some fashion.
No, they cannot. The Supreme Court has already given a view.
Okay. I have a quick other question, in terms of, again,
They cannot go
unintended
to the court. Let me be firm.
Okay.
We never created a revolving door. If somebody does not understand English language, what do you mean when you give an option?
Okay.
Option is not that, you have 100 options. You have one option. You have
The
exercised.
message is loud and clear, sir. A quick last question I'll put to you, again on the unintended consequences. FDI and pharma, the non-compete clause.
Yes,
a
it's
lot of-
important.
But it could have been left to the Competition Commission of
No,
India to determine
they cannot.
if-
Because they will only come in after the takeovers of the critical verticals. And we were seeing a situation where the Indian pharmaceutical industry has brought down the prices of medicines meant for life-threatening diseases. And we saw a very clear design. There was no R&D coming in. There was no expansion of manufacturing which was coming in. No further creation of jobs.
counter-argument
I'm
is
sorry,
there's
no
no
counter-argument.
dominant situation
No.
in pharmaceutical
The
for you to
prices
stop
were
it.
going up. When it comes to the injectables in oncology, we have a list what was being taken over.
Okay.
And we won't allow that also, because it's the Indian pharmaceutical industry which is supporting the healthcare programs of 87 countries. You're talking about 9,000 rupees for a critical oncology cancer injectable to 2 lakh rupees.
Okay.
And if the capacities you have built, R&D in which the public money has gone in, cannot just be taken over. And you are not bringing in any further value. That's why the non-compete clause has to be there.
Tesco Trent, that was the first
They've come.
into multi-brand retail.
Yes.
But sir, when you saw the FAQs come out of the ministry, they seem to indicate that acquisition of brownfield front-end stores and multi-brand retail will not be allowed. And yet, when Tesco Trent came in, that FAQ
No, it's
was
the
contradicted.
separate issue.
It was that was the
No,
language.
then, that is what I would say, that you also need to read what is the ownership and control definition when it comes to FDI. No.
I've seen
There's
the
a
new
new
definition.
definition.
I've seen the new
Yeah.
definition,
So that permits
which is in
it.
line.
That permits
It's
it.
not about the
Any
control
downstream.
definition, sir. If you see the FAQs that were put out earlier last year, they say very clearly that we will not permit brownfield
Listen,
acquisition or acquisition of already
subsequently
existing
there have
front-end
been
retail
changes.
stores.
1st of
Post
August,
the FAQs.
1st August,
So that's
Cabinet
what
took
I'm saying.
decision.
So now
No,
this
these
is
are
clear.
Cabinet decisions.
So
So
this-
why are you being frozen in the past of FAQs? Why are you
Because
not?
that was the last
No.
communication we had on
The
multi-brand
last
retail.
communication was the Cabinet decision of 1st of August 2013.
Okay, the FAQs seem to give out that
No,
impression, which is why we may
I'm
have
sorry,
seen Walmart
but you
exit.
should have read. Walmart had their problems with their Indian partner. Don't connect it to us. They have
No,
not faulted the
connecting it.
policy.
I'm not connecting
They've
it,
had
sir.
their own problems
But
back in
even
America
with
and
civil
here.
aviation, FDI and civil aviation, sir, there was some issue of 1 comma that may have ruled out, the ability of new joint ventures to take place.
But
So
that
when
didn't happen.
Tata AirAsia, yeah, I know.
It was a question of
again, I was talking about
interpretation.
yeah, so that's what I'm saying.
So, but
So I'm
my
saying, why
ministry's
has-
interpretation was very clear, and that has been accepted and upheld.
Okay, so the only question I was putting to you was this.
It is a continuum.
The
Comma
understanding
is
of-
not a break.
The understanding of some of this continues to be confused.
Well, some people are confused because they don't have understanding either of law or of language. I can't help them.
All right. A last final question to you, Mr. Sharma. I'll make it quick. I know you have visitors waiting for you. And that is that, are you leaving Davos more positive about the way foreign investors look
Definitely,
at
sir.
India?
Definitely.
All right. We'll leave it there.
Far
sir.
more reassured.
We appreciate the time you spent with us today. Thank you very much for it.
Okay.
Thank you.